What is up, everyone? James Baek here. Welcome back to another episode of VGC 17 Baek Battles. We have a new team, and it's not my team. This is Wolfe 2017 Melbourne International team. So this is the team we used to get top 16 at the Internationals in Melbourne, Australia, and I thought I would try it out. I tried it out for a PC. I had a Magzone over Muk. Didn't do that great at that PC, but it was a really fun team, and I do kind of enjoy using it. It's completely different from my original playstyle, so let's see how this is going to go. We are going against Gigalith VGC, I believe that's how you pronounce it. I do know this person. I have faced this person quite a few times on BattleSpot, and he has reached the 2000s. Before. I do know that. So what do I want to do? The Gigalith, Arcanine, Celesteela, Tapu, Koko, Flygon, and Stoutland. So kind of a dangerous team. Not gonna lie, it's kind of a dangerous team, but my opponent doesn't have much for Trick Room. I could go like Porygon2 Hariyama right here. It's pretty solid against my opponent's team. Arcanine in the back for Intimidate. And Tapu Bulu is very solid if I get rid of the Celesteela, as well as Toxic that Arcanine. So gonna go with this route. I feel like it's pretty solid what I have for my game plan. Gigalith is gonna be annoying. Like probably the biggest thing I'd have to worry about is like flinches with Rock Slide. Like that's the only thing I see that's gonna be kind of problematic. But you know, we're gonna see how this is gonna work. So what is Gigalith gonna lead? Tapu, Koko, Arcanine. I do not really mind this because I get pretty much a free fake out to Tapu Koko, or I could fake out the Arcanine. I guess I'm playing a few mind games here. One, does my opponent carry Roar? Two, I think Roar is like the interesting option because I don't know if my opponent does carry Roar or not. I do kind of just want to fake out the Tapu Koko and go for a Toxic. That's always the play. Special attack boost is pretty nice because I don't want to be. It could be Gigavolt. No, I don't think it's Gigavolt Havoc. Tapu Koko, and Tapu Koko could instantly switch out, which is kind of what I'm expecting, into the Gigalith, or maybe Arcanine switches out to Gigalith, but I want to get a Toxic off as soon as possible into the Arcanine. And I think I'm going to switch out on my own Arcanine because I get the Intimidate off onto my opponent's Arcanine, so we're not going to see a switch out from my opponent, which is interesting. Helping out Thunderbolt could be kind of bad in this situation, but I will bring out Arcanine. Going to get the Intimidate off. Maybe my opponent has a Fairy type move and goes for the Fairy type move. That's also a possibility. It's going to be the Volt Switch coming out, so probably going to be trying to get that Gigalith out. Arcanine's going to be taking... Oh my lord, that took so much damage. I kind of wanted close combat that slot, but I'm expecting Flare Blitz. Yeah, I'm probably expecting Flare Blitz coming out, double targeting the Hariyama. Gigalith is going to come out, which is kind of what I expected, which is why I didn't go for Trick Room. And I get a Toxic off onto the Arcanine. And again, wearing down that Arcanine is so huge for my team because Arcanine can be problematic. Here comes the Flare Blitz. I'm guessing into the Hariyama slot. Yep. Arcanine able to eat that up. That did a bit more than I expected, to be honest, but we will be able to recover with our Ayapa Berry. It's a Life Orb Arcanine, so that actually makes it easier to deal with because the fact that now that Arcanine is going to take a lot more recoil, it doesn't have a Recovery Berry, and we get this nice Toxic off. So this Arcanine is going to be on a timer. And okay, now it's like, what do I think about for the next few turns? Because I need to keep Arcanine alive because it is my best way to handle Celesteela, which I would probably assume Celesteela being in the back. I don't see Stoutland being brought in this game. So I think I could double out into Hariyama, but I could also go into my Tapu Bulu, but I don't want to risk my opponent going for a double Flare Blitz. It is a potential. My opponent could also double up into Porygon2 with the Z move, plus a Flare Blitz. That could knock me out. So you know what? I'm going to actually switch out into my Hariyama and switch out Arcanine, preserve the Arcanine. We're going to see the switch out from my opponent's Arcanine going to Tapu Koko. Very safe play on my opponent's part. Conserving the Intimidate, but I really don't mind this depending on what Gigalith does here. If it sets up a curse, I guess I can negate it with my Arcanine's Intimidate always. So I recover off very little damage. Could have got Toxic off on Gigalith, which would have been nice, but I'm playing it very safe. Rock Slide is just going to be coming out, so that's not going to be doing too much damage here. As that does a... not really a big chunk, as Tapu Koko taking sand damage. I think that's Specs Tapu Koko, if I am correct. because that's what it seems like from the damage calcs. Flame Orb is going to activate on the Hariyama. I will just go for Fake Out, I think, into the Tapu Koko. And I could Ice Beam. I kind of am leaning toward Ice Beam, but I'm also leaning towards... The Z move's like always the frustrating part, because I don't know, like, is my opponent going to go for the Z move now? But I think I'm going to Ice Beam here and Fake Out the Tapu Koko, because it might put it in Feint range after. I could see Gigalith switching on to Hariyama as well, but no switch outs from my opponent. Fake Out into the Tapu Koko, doing a solid amount of damage. It's a +1 Ice Beam coming out into the Tapu Koko, so this should do a relatively good chunk. Oh, geez, that does a lot. As my opponent does set up the Curse, which I kind of did imagine. However, not really that great against the Hariyama that's currently out on the field, so I do not mind this at all. Tapu Koko taking a bit more damage. It's actually going to feint to Sand in the following turn. So now I guess I have to make some decisions. Hariyama is taking 1/8 of its health every time due to the burn plus Sandstorm. I do kind of want to save Hariyama because Hariyama does seem, you know, pretty useful in this situation. I think I could just recover with Porygon2 because I don't want to lose it to a Z move potentially. And I'm going to go out into my Tapu Bulu because Tapu Bulu is not going to be doing too much in this game. Because I already pretty much almost knocked out the Tapu Koko, the Arcanines in the back, and I'm guessing Celesteela's in the back, so it's not really going to be doing too much in this game. And if I can get... I think Hariyama can do more because it does more against the Celesteela, and right here I get Tapu Bulu in, so I could go for maybe a Bloom Doom into this Gigalith as soon as possible, so I kind of want to try that. It is going to be the Specs Dazzling Gleam coming out. That's not going to be doing too much to my team, as we will get the Recover off with our Porygon2. It'd actually be great, because I don't remember if Sandstorm or Grassy Terrain goes first. Rock Slide's going to come out. How much does this do? That does a pretty sizable chunk, actually. But Sandstorm does activate first, so Tapu Koko is going to be the first Pokemon that goes down. Great. So that's one Pokemon gone. I am going to be healing this Gigalith, however. Well, not yet, but once it starts taking damage, and if it sets up enough curses, it can live my attacks. So I'm going to need to probably preserve Tapu Bulu, because Bloom Doom should be able to knock out the Gigalith, even at +1 defense. So Arcanine, I would assume, would be the switch in here. Okay, this is going to be interesting how this plays. Yep, Arcanine is going to be the switch-in. I don't know how my opponent really wants to play this. I guess I could just recover with Porygon2 and stall out a turn, because he's going to be taking Sandstorm damage every time. Well, actually, Sandstorm ends the following turn, so... I could Toxic the Gigalith here, but I don't want to take a Rock Slide yet, so I'm going to Toxic the Gigalith. Actually, no, Recover. Recover is always the play of choice here. And I just protect Tapu Bulu because it will keep getting Grassy Terrain recovery now that the Sandstorm's going to be over this turn. So I feel like this is the best play possible. Even if Arcanine doubles, I mean, it's taking a lot of recoil damage. Yep, it's going to be that Arcanine going for the attack into the Porygon2. But again, we recover all the damage, and he takes more recoil with the Life Orb. So I do not mind that at all. Could have went for the Bloom Doom, but I don't think it knocks out Gigalith after the Intimidate. So get that recovery off. No Z-move coming out from my opponent. That's very fortunate. So the Rock Slide coming out. Gonna do a decent amount to the Porygon. Yep. Sandstorm is gonna subside. I do like Tapu Bulu's usage more than Hariyama's usage because of the Bloom Doom. The Toxic is gonna start wearing the Arcanine up, and especially if it goes for one more Flare Blitz. So, kind of want a Toxic. Actually, no. Porygon2 is a bit too low for my liking. I'm going to recover here. And I think I'm going to go out into Hariyama here because I'm going to use Hariyama basically to sack it off because the Flare Blitz is going to take a lot of recoil out of that Arcanine. It might even be able to pick up the knockout. So, I'd rather keep the Tapu Bulu alive than Hariyama right now because I think Celesteela will be in the back. And if that's the case, Tapu Bulu combined with Arcanine, because the Grassy Terrain is pretty huge for me recovering the damage. So Hariyama's is going to be knocked out to the Flare Blitz. Should be taking out quite a bit of damage from the Arcanine. with the Life Orb. I think it goes down to Toxic this turn, which is exactly what I wanted, and I will get the recover off with our Porygon2. So Porygon2 healing. The Rock Slide is going to be coming out at single target. Not going to be doing too much. Actually, it does a lot more than expected. But again, Grassy Terrain is healing us every time. I can Toxic this Gigalith now and put it on a timer. And now we're actually in pretty decent shape. So Arcanine does go down. Very fortunate. And I can bring out my Arcanine, get the Intimidate off, and also get a bit of Grassy Terrain healing. I'm betting Celesteela's in the back. Yep. Called it right. Okay, so Celesteela is in the back. So I did play exactly how I wanted. And now I'm going to try to Toxic this Gigalith. And then start recovering quite a bit. Because Rock Slide plus the -1 Heavy Slam is not going to be doing too much. So go for Toxic here into the Gigalith. I will go for a Protect with Arcanine just to heal back a bit. And let's see what my opponent decides to do. The only problem is this Gigalith is still being annoying for my team to handle. I wonder if my opponent's going to predict some switches from my side, but right here, just going to protect Arcanine's very safe. I could have went for Flare Blitz, but I don't want to do it yet. Giga Drain actually coming out from the Celesteela, so it looks like it's AV, so probably doesn't have a good way to touch my Tapu Bulu actually. So Toxic's going to go on to the Gigalith. And let's see if we see a Z move. No Z moves coming out from my opponent yet. As we will see the Rock Slide, but it's at neutral, so not going to be doing too much. Grassy Terrain's going to heal all my Pokemon. So we're in a pretty good position. I feel like I'm free to fire off a Flare Blitz plus an Ice Beam combination into that Celesteela. And it should pick up the knockout. So I'm going to Ice Beam. Yeah, this is last turn Grassy Terrain, so if one of my Pokemon faints, it doesn't matter because I get the free switch into Tapu Bulu back. Giga Drain means it's Assault Vest Celesteela most likely, unless it's Specs. So Flare Blitz should be doing a considerable amount of damage, yeah. Good amount of damage. I should put in +1 Ice Beam range if I'm not mistaken. Flash Cannon comes out, shouldn't knock me out unless it crits. Yeah, perfect. As we do get the Ice Beam off, and that will be able to knock out the Celesteela. Excellent. And then Gigalith is all alone and it can't beat my Tapu Bulu in the back. It's going to try to curse up. But every time you're trying to curse up, like, no matter what, the Grassy Terrain is gone so my opponent can no longer heal. The toxic damage is going to keep adding up. And I always have my Tapu Bulu, which is going to be a nuke to my opponent's team. Even if Gigalith protects on the Z move, it doesn't matter because I can follow up with a strong Wood Hammer. So Grassy Terrain now ends. But he is still taking poison damage. I could switch out Arcanine, I guess, but that is a terrible play because of the fact that I do have my Tapu Bulu weakened in the back, so I just try to bring out Tapu Bulu safely. So I just recover here, and I protect just for extra toxic damage. I don't care if he goes for Curse again, because he's still adding up the toxic damage, so no matter what, this is the best play possible. So I get to recover off here. And just stall out this Gigalith a bit until he starts attacking. Just going to go for the Rock Slide here. Trying to get damage on the Porygon2. But again, Tapu Bulu. Going to seal the game in the back. Got to get a free switch in though. And I will stall out the toxic damage. So no matter how many curses he sets up, he won't be able to live my Bloom Doom after he takes all this toxic damage. So recover here. Flare Blitz here. I guess I could Ice Beam here. Make the game go faster. But still the best play in my opinion is just to keep recovering since he cannot knock me out and I could always Ice Beam the following turn. So not exactly a big deal. Arcanine going to take some damage, recover. It does seem like it's a very long game, but that's how this team functions. It plays a very defensive game and very slow usually. Especially with Grassy Terrain, Toxic. There's a bunch of factors into this team where it plays quite a bit on the timer. So we are probably going to be having some very long games. Toxic adding up. Hard into my Tapu Bulu. And I can click Bloom Doom plus Ice Beam and that will be able to knock out the Gigalith. Yeah. There's something my opponent can do. I guess he could protect and hope he gets a Super Berry, but Toxic will stall him out and I could always protect Bulu. So either way, we are pretty good in this scenario. Bloom Doom here. Ice Beam there, win the game there. So let's see. The match is going to be forfeited, and we will take the first victory pretty convincingly. This is a very fun team, but it is a very long team. They're very long games. I remember that one PC I went to play with this team, I went to like 15 minutes in almost every set. Very long set. I kind of dropped at like 2-2. Just because like I didn't have a chance to cut in the first place. My resistance was so bad at that tournament. Yeah, but this team has some flaws. I do know some flaws. Like, I think the biggest flaw in this team is it doesn't have a way to beat Buzzwole-Rain. Like, this team kind of auto loses to Buzzwole-Rain, that I noticed. It also struggles against Metagross. Well, I guess with Muck it doesn't matter, but the version I was using struggled against the I just said it. Metagross. It also struggles against opposing Muck, but Wolfe did run the Imprison Muck. I did put Magnezone on this team. The reason why I put Magnezone on this team for the PC is because I felt more comfortable using Magnezone on this team. I didn't like how the fact I was using Muck that couldn't touch Garchomp. And I also liked the fact where... Okay, we got an interesting team. I liked having another option against Celesteela because the only way this team really beats Celesteela is a close combat from the Guts Hariyama or Flare Blitz from Arcanine, and I didn't exactly like that, so that's the reason why I put Magnezone. It also helped against Rain a bit, but it wasn't exactly the best counter. So let's see, my opponents bring the Torkoal Lilligant, Garchomp, Celesteela, Tapu Lele, and Arcanine. Oh, this is a Sun team, and oh jeez. Oh, jeez. That's all I can say. This matchup is actually pretty horrendous, I think. I do like Nihilego. I like Nihilego Porygon2, believe it or not, because I think it's very solid against my opponent's team. Or maybe Nihilego Arcanine? But that leaves me severely weak to the Garchomp, and I think it's Scarf Garchomp. I do want to bring Nihilego Porygon2 for sure. Do I want to bring Muck? I don't really want to bring Muck. It's decent against my opponent's team. It hits Lilligant as well as the Tapu Lele, but struggles against everything else. Arcanine Tapu Bulu, I think, because Tapu Bulu, it does power up my opponent's Lilligant. However, I feel like weakening the power of that Earthquake could be very helpful to my team. So, let's see how this is going to go. I wonder what Z move my opponent's going to carry. It could be Scarf Lele as well. Like, there's always that. Z-move Lilligant. There's so many options for this team. I don't know. But let's see what my opponent decides to lead. I'm guessing it's going to be a Garchomp lead. Or I guess my opponent can lead Sun, but I don't think that's the play. Yeah, it's Tapu Lele Garchomp. So, this isn't bad at all. Well, it's kind of bad. The Psychic Surge is going to activate as we are going to get a download boost. Probably going to be Physical Attack. Yeah. So... I don't know if my opponent's Scarf Chomp or not, but I do want to go straight into Tapu Bulu because I don't want to take a Shattered Psyche combined with like an Earthquake or something. Gonna go for the Ice Beam and the Garchomp, safest play possible. I get my Tapu Bulu in, which does threaten both of these Pokemon unless Garchomp carries Poison Jab, but I'm kind of expecting this to be a Scarf Garchomp, or I guess it could be Tectonic Rage, but I am kind of more expecting the Scarf. And the grassy terrain prevents Psychic from doing as much damage to my team. I could protect here, but I don't want to protect on a Tectonic Rage potentially from Garchomp and then fall for a taunt on Tapu Lele. Tapu Lele going to switch out into Celesteela. So I'm guessing it is Scarf Garchomp is going to go for the Earthquake. That would be my my first assumption here. So Tapu Bulu is going to come out. So Tapu Bulu going to be bringing out that Grassy Surge. Let's see what my opponent goes for. I'm pretty sure this is going to be Scarf with Earthquake. Here comes the Earthquake. Good switch with the Tapu Bulu. For us, Earthquake is going to do basically nothing. And then we get an Ice Beam off. And this should do about 90%. It actually picks up the knockout. And it's not a critical hit. Wow. That's either a very high roll in my favor. No, it's a very low roll in my favor. Or it's naive Garchomp for some reason. Or maybe Naughty or something. I don't know. But maybe it has Fire Blast. I don't know. But I was not expecting to knock on Garchomp, and I kind of was hoping that Garchomp stayed alive because now my opponent gets a free switch. Arcanine's going to come out, but I don't know about the Arcanine switch. Like, what's Arcanine actually going to do to my team? Do you have Fighting Z? Do you have Close Combat Banded? I don't know, but my first switch is definitely Tapu Bulu, always. I'm going to hit this Arcanine up with Toxic. Because Toxic will wear down the Arcanine, wears down the Tapu Lele on the switch in, and it puts in range of Nihilego's Power Gem after a few turns. So no matter what, always go for Toxic here. Here comes the Arcanine coming back in. So get the Intimidate off, and I just have to basically chip down this Arcanine, and then I think I can easily win this game. Here comes the Flare Blitz, targeting the Arcanine slot. Are we going to see a Leech Seed? I don't really mind Leech Seed because we had the Grassy terrain up. Heavy Slam, okay. Doubling up into Tapu Bulu, it looks like, yep. Arcanine able to eat up those attacks. Not as well as I thought, though. The Heavy Slam did a bit more damage than I was anticipating. Then again, I'm not the most offensive Arcanine. But we will heal with the Grassy terrain. We got our Toxic off. Very, very good turn for us, as I don't know what my opponent's going to do. Maybe switch out Arcanine into Tapu Lele. I could definitely see that play. I do want to Flare Blitz the Celesteela because my opponent cannot switch out the Celesteela slot. And I think I'll Toxic the Arcanine slot again. The reason is, Ice Beam's not going to get me any momentum. If I get a Toxic off onto Lele, that's pretty huge. And if Arcanine does stay in, it doesn't do anything. And this is pretty much Porygon2's best play. I guess I could go for Trick Room, but Trick Room doesn't help me here. So yep, Arcanine is going to switch out to Tapu Lele. I'm guessing a Protect from Celesteela. So again, we are building up this momentum right here. Once I get rid of the Tapu Lele, my Arcanine kind of wins this game no matter what. As Celesteela does Protect. I guess I could have made the hard read, went for Flare Blitz Toxic. I really didn't need to though. So I feel like this is the best play possible. We don't miss the Toxic. Great. So we do hit the Toxic onto Tapu Lele. And I wonder how my opponent's going to play this. I don't know if my opponent's just going to go for maybe Shadow Psyche into the Arcanine slot, which could be a bit troublesome. So you know what? I'm going to protect my Arcanine here. Switch out Tapu Bulu for the Porygon2 slot because I feel like the worst Porygon2 would take would be maybe a double up with Shadow Psyche Heavy Slam, I guess. But if you waste your Z move trying to get rid of Arcanine, then that kind of leaves Arcanine to prone to sweep your team along with Nihilego. So I'm going to go into Tapu Bulu and trying to gain more recovery with this Arcanine. Try to keep Arcanine as healthy as possible so I can beat the Celesteela. So let's see what my opponent's going to do. Arcanine protects. Psychic going to come out into the Arcanine slot, and I'm guessing Heavy Slam into the Tapu Bulu slot. It's actually a Leech Seed in Tapu Bulu. So that's actually the best case scenario right there. As yes, we did heal the Tapu Lele, but Arcanine is more important with the recovery right now. And now I'm wondering if I should just sub with Tapu Bulu, try to stall out a turn. Or do I just want to go for the Bloom Doom into Tapu Lele? If I go for the Bloom Doom into Tapu Lele, it would do a lot of damage, even into Arcanine if it's a potential switch in. So I have a hard choice. Do I want to go for sub, which I think is a very conservative play? I think that's fine. I'll go into Porygon2 for Arcanine because I do want to preserve it. And I will go for a Bloom Doom in Grassy terrain onto Tapu Lele slot. Even if Tapu Lele protects, this is going to do about 25% to the Tapu Lele slot. So if my opponent didn't switch out, this is definitely a huge problem. Unless my opponent protected, but I don't mind if my opponent protected. It puts it closer to range of Extreme Speed. Psychic going to come out into the Arcanine slot, so Porygon2 going to be able to eat that up. And then we knock out this Tapu Lele, and unless Celesteela gets a crit, I don't think it can do anything to my team. So here comes the Bloom Doom, and this will be able to knock out the Tapu Lele 100%. Yeah, it should knock out 100%, especially after the toxic damage. Yep, Tapu Lele goes down. Celesteela, I don't know what you're going for. Heavy Slam, Leech Seed. It's going to be a Heavy Slam. As long as it doesn't crit Tapu Bulu. Well, even if it crits Tapu Bulu, I guess it's not the worst case still. That still does a lot of damage, so I think that's offensive Celesteela. That was -1 Heavy Slam. So, yeah. Okay, let's see. The Arcanine's probably coming back in. It could be Inferno Overdrive Arcanine, I guess. Because we still haven't seen a Z move. But might have been Z move. Might have been Z move on the other Pokemon. So I don't know if my opponent's going to Heavy Slam to Porygon2, but I highly doubt it. I kind of want to go into Nihilego actually, and I think I'm going to switch out, pull a double switch. Go into Arcanine, go into Nihilego, because both of them together can beat down the Celesteela combined with the Arcanine combination. I think we see a Flare Blitz into one of my 2 slots, and either Heavy Slam or Leech Seed. I don't know what my opponent's going to go for. I don't think we're going to see a Heavy Slam into Porygon2, because I think you need to try and get as much recovery as you can with the Celesteela right now. Also, I think Leech Seed would actually do more in this case. My opponent could predict the Arcanine switching in, which I wouldn't mind, because Nihilego gets in basically for free. So, Nihilego's going to come in for free, get the Grassy Seed up, which is a pretty cool attack. It actually makes Nihilego extremely bulky. Wall Charge coming out into the Arcanine slot. Good play. I don't really mind that, because you're still taking recoil, boy. Here comes the Heavy Slam into the... Okay, doubling up into the Tapu Bulu slot, it looks like. So, going for the Wild Charge Heavy Slam in case Tapu Bulu stayed in. But again, I think I could go for Power Gem. The problem is I don't know the item on Arcanine. Wild Charge kind of makes me assume it's like... Because that's not banded damage. That's probably... Salt Vest? Oh well, I'll just Flare Blitz. No, do I want to Flare Blitz because I don't want the recoil knocking me out. I could help me in Power Gem actually. I think that's a fine play, because the Celesteela shouldn't be able to knock me out in one hit. Yeah, I'm gonna help me in Power Gem. I don't think that Celesteela can knock me out. I'm very confident that this is a Salt Vest Arcanine. So let's see if we are actually able to call it. Power Gem is going to come out. I also don't want to knock myself out of the recoil due to Flare Blitz. Here comes the Power Gem into the Arcanine slot. Does pick up the knockout. Gets the Beast Boost, which is going to be our special attack. And the Heavy Slam is going to come out. Target down probably Nihilego, but... Oh, it's actually going to be into Arcanine. That's perfect. Does that activate our berry? Yes, it does. Nice. So... now I can go for Flare Blitz without having to worry. Power Gem plus Flare Blitz should be able to knock out this Celesteela now, thanks to our special attack boost. And that should be the entire game. I don't see how my opponent at all comes back from this. So Power Gem into Celesteela, as well as a Flare Blitz into that Celesteela slot, and that should be the game. And I just realized my computer's not plugged in, as the match is going to be forfeited. And we will take 2 victories with this team. And we're going to do one more, I think. Yeah, I'm going to do one more. So, I want to talk to you people about what you thought about the new program that Twitch released. It's called Twitch Affiliates, I think it's called. Unless I'm totally pronouncing that wrong. And it's a way for streamers who aren't partnered with Twitch to actually make Twitch revenue, which I thought was a cool idea. There aren't many details about the qualifications, but if I streamed a few times a week, I think I do qualify. But I don't know, I feel like the qualifications are actually smaller, and they're like smaller than the YouTube qualifications for monetization. So I don't know how that's gonna work out. I kind of think they will raise it, and I do think it should be raised, to be honest, in my personal opinion. But let me know what you think about it. By the way, speaking of Twitch, I actually was supposed to start streaming over the break that I had, but I was, you know, kind of sick with that break, which is why I couldn't even upload to YouTube. But I should be resuming streaming. I think I was streaming earlier today when you watch this video, and I'll probably be streaming the Saturday and Sunday most likely. So actually, you should be following me on Twitch if you haven't already. We have lit times on the stream, but we got Costas. I don't know how you pronounce his name, but Araquanid, Marowak, the Tapu Fini, what is it? Mimikyu, I don't know why I couldn't remember it for some reason, Kartana, and Ninetales. So, okay, this is going to be a bit more interesting. Yeah, this is definitely going to be a bit more interesting. Muk does extremely well in this matchup, so I am kind of very happy about Muk. So I think I want to... okay, I want to bring Nihilego, but I don't think Nihilego's the call. I do expect my opponent to bring Kartana, Araquanid, and Marowak with maybe Boomerang. So I don't think Nihilego's the call. I think Tapu Bulu is pretty safe, as well as Arcanine in the back. I don't know how this is going to work. Hariyama could have been very nice because it helps against the Kartana, but I am kind of worried about the Mimikyu, to be honest, because I don't know what tricks this Mimikyu is going to carry. And I don't want Mimikyu going for like Will-O-Wisp on my entire team. I kind of want to get rid of Mimikyu as fast as possible because it is probably the most annoying member to my team. Because the fact that it gets its speed control up will allow it to control the game, especially with his disguise, and I don't have a way that can one-shot it. So Ninetales Kartana leads. Very interesting, but don't mind us. Snow warning is going to go up as download's going to activate, which is going to be a special attack. Now, I could just go out into my... I could just Trick Room right here, but my opponent does have Trick Room on my opponent's side, so not the best play there. I'm going to go out to Arcanine because it threatens both these Pokemon and Poison Jab the Ninetales. I guess I could get a free Imprison off, but I can Imprison next turn if I really want to, so either way, I'm going to bring out my Arcanine. Get this Intimidate off. It doesn't look like Kartana or Ninetales switched out, so most likely they're staying in. If this is fighting Z Swords Dance Kartana, though, I'm in a bit of a troubling situation here. It's going to be the Z move from that Kartana. It is the all-out pummeling, but luckily we caught it before maybe a potential Swords Dance. So that's a -1 all-out pummeling, which is why I didn't want to keep Porygon2 in either. So all-out pummeling is going to come out. So this is the Z move Kartana, so we do confirm its item. I didn't even think it was Sash, but it's not Scarf either, so it does carry Detect most likely, so that all-out pummeling doing quite a bit of damage, but not exactly the worst case scenario here. Blizzard, so my opponent's not even going to step out on Aurora Veil, which does significant amount. Just don't freeze, thank you. Here comes the Poison Jab, and it will target down the Ninetales and bring it down to, not even Focus Sash actually, we didn't bring it down to a Sash. Quite impressive. Hail doesn't bring us down to... Oh, Hail does bring us down to our berry. Excellent. So now I can recover on this Kartana. So I'm not in range of Sacred Sword. And I kind of just want Extreme Speed the Ninetales slot because I do not like dealing with Ninetales at all. Kartana's most likely going to switch out. I could knock off, I think. I think I am going to knock off because this does seem like my most viable play. I'm trying to catch maybe an Araquanid on the switch in, or maybe Marowak even on the Flare Blitz, so I will go for knockoff. Kartana attacking doesn't really matter to me because it doesn't do much damage at -1 and it already burned up its Z move. I guess if my opponent hard reads me and goes for Swords Dance or Sub, well, Sub we should be able to break the Sub with knockoff, but Swords Dance would be troubling. Ninetales is going to protect, I don't mind. Oh wow, my opponent tried to hard read me, okay. Going for a Smart Strike into the Muk. That's going to pop my Figy Berry. So it did do a bit more damage than I thought, though. It really did do a bit more damage than I thought. A knockoff into the Kartana, which again always puts in near Ice Beam range, and I don't want my opponent setting up a Aurora Veil, which is pretty huge. But once I get rid of Kartana, my Tapu Bulu kind of thrives in this matchup, so maybe I do want to get rid of the Kartana here. But I think I want to go for Extreme Speed again into Ninetales and just knock off the Ninetales slot. Maybe I should Imprison the first turn, but again, I don't feel like I need to Imprison yet. And it kind of seems like Muk is going to be taking a lot of damage in the future. So I don't think I would have the Imprison for too long, so it doesn't really matter to me. I think Kartana protects and sacks Ninetales here. So I guess I could have got a free Imprison off, but I don't want my opponent ever getting a free switch into Araquanid, no matter what. And this way, Extreme Speed should be able to knock out Ninetales, as Kartana does switch out into Araquanid. Perfect. So let's see if this is a Z move for Araquanid. Maybe it was double Z move. Extreme Speed into the Ninetales. Probably trying to expect me to Flare Blitz this turn onto the Kartana slab, but never allowing that Kartana to ever do that. Knockoff does a significant amount. Knocks off the Mystic Water, so doesn't care the Z move. Kind of expected. So we have a pretty decent turn here. And that Araquanid's pretty low, not gonna lie. A Poison Jab plus 2 turns of Hail should be able to knock out the Araquanid. A Kartana might come in, Marowak could come in. I think Marowak would probably come in. Extreme Speed plus a Poison Jab would also knock out the Araquanid, so we're in a very solid spot here. And also the Kartana is weakened, so Ice Beam will be able to knock it out. Marowak does come out. I wonder if my opponent has sub. If I knock out Marowak, Tapu Bulu kind of destroys my opponent's team. How do I want to play this? I kind of want to double protect, scout. Because I want to scout what my opponent's going to do. The only problem is my opponent going to go for sub? I don't think you go for sub at this play. I feel like you go for attacks and protects, so I'm going to scout for those protects. I want this hail damage as well. If this... Yeah, I think there's one more turn of hail. So Marowak's going to protect. Excellent. Okay, Liquidation into the Muk slot. I don't really mind that too much. Yeah, we're pretty much okay here. Yep. As Araquanid still taking a bit more damage. Flare Blitz, let's see, it's 180 with stab, 90 base power onto Araquanid. It would do a lot of damage still. I can just Flare Blitz knock off, I think. Because my opponent should be able to knock me out. Or I could just Helping Hand knock off, which is kind of what I want to do actually. But Marowak doesn't do too much damage without its Fit Club, so I'm going to knock off the Marowak. This is a pretty fast Muk, so I do assume we're going to be faster. And then Marowak is going to switch out into Kartana, looks like. Yep. But I don't mind, because Kartana is always being weakened, so I do not mind this. Flare Blitz is going to go out into the Araquanid, which is going to do a significant amount of damage. Yeah. Still does a significant amount. Puts in Ice Beam range, it looks like. Knock off into the Kartana. As yeah, that's still doing a lot. Here comes Liquidation into the Muk slot. Okay. So Muk is almost gonna faint, but yeah, now it's gonna be interesting. I don't know what my opponent's exactly gonna want to do. I feel like I could just Flare Blitz Kartana. Yeah, I could Flare Blitz Kartana. I want to see if I can play this more defensively. I do want to play this more defensively, I feel like. Alright, so I expect a Sacred Sword or Liquidation to go onto the Arcanine slot. I think I'm going to go into my Tapu Bulu here. And sack my Muk, I think. Yeah. This is what I'm trying to do is basically I don't want to lose two Pokemon at the same time. Because I'm afraid of Marowak having Perish Song to 1v1 my Porygon2, so I kind of want to do this play. So Sacred Sword's going to come out into that Arcanine slot. Excellent. And now we get a knockoff into this Araquanid, which will pick up the KO, and perfect. Excellent. This grassy terrain is kind of scary though, because Kartana is now powered up a bit. But no matter what, yeah, we're still good. I don't see how my opponent can really recover from this. So, Marowak's probably going to come out. Yep. And, okay. Try not to lose too many Mons because this team... We'll probably see like a Flare Blitz into Tapu Bulu and an attack into Muk. Probably Sacred Sword into Muk. So... I don't exactly have a switch in. I could also try to sub here, which I kind of do like. Yeah, I'm going to sub here with my Tapu Bulu, and I think I'm just going to go for a knockoff into the Kartana slot. Because if Kartana chooses to Smart Strike, I put the Kartana in range of Extreme Speed. And yeah, we're just going to see the knockout into Muk here. And what I'm trying to do is get to crit, doesn't matter. Get my Arcanine in, which Arcanine is pretty necessary because now I can threaten both Pokemon here, as I will just go for the substitute here as Flare Blitz is going to come out. However, the fact that Flare Blitz will not be able to knock out Tapu Bulu here, so I'm going to bring out my Arcanine, but maybe I'm playing a bit too passive. Because the recall damage is going to add up, and there's a chance that my opponent's Arcanine could Smart Strike here. Maybe I should have just went into Porygon2, hard into Porygon2 on the Flare Blitz. Yeah, that might have been better. I could just bring out Porygon2 now, to be honest, and just fire off Ice Beams. I kind of actually want to do that. I will bring out Porygon2. Get the download boost, which will be our special attack. And I will just switch out into my Arcanine once again and Ice Beam, because I don't think Marowak should have a way to knock me out without Boomerang. I'm pretty sure Shadow Bone at -1 we should be able to live just barely. And Ice Beam will be able to knock out Kartana, and I'm aiming to knock out the Kartana here while keeping 3 of my Mons so I can avoid the Pair Song. So Arcanine going to be coming out, get the Intimidate off, which prevents the Kartana from doing much damage, even with a Leaf Blade crit onto my Porygon2. We're going to see the Smart Strike here, excellent. Into my Arcanine, we will survive that. Ice Beam is going to come off into that Kartana, so I did make the correct play. But just knock out this Kartana, prevents this Marowak from going for Pair Song, unless it goes for the attack now. Into my Arcanine, but it looks like we're going to see the Flare Blitz here, which does make sense. Gets a burn, kind of unfortunate, but, you know, doesn't really help my opponent here. Grassy Terrain's going to heal me. And now I go for Toxic, try to wear down this Arcanine, and then maybe Bloom Doom for an Ice Beam combination for the knockout. And yeah, the burn's not really that significant because because Grassy Terrain kind of negates the burn damage. So, Flare Blitz into the Marowak. Hopefully we can land a Toxic. Actually, how many turns are left? 2 turns of Grassy Terrain. Actually, I'm going to protect Arcanine because I don't want my opponent... Because if my opponent knocks out the Arcanine here and then I go on the top of Bulu and I miss Toxic, then my opponent can protect, stall out the Grassy Terrain, and then, like, I might actually lose the game. So I'm going to Toxic here. The Marowak. And protect. So I can reset Grassy Terrain from my side. So protect, Toxic, does connect with the Marowak. And that's going to start wearing down the Marowak. I'm just playing this as 100% safe as possible. I'm making sure I can win this game without any errors. Flare Blitz comes out, targets down the Arcanine in case that I switch into my Tapu Bulu. Solid play. But now I can Flare Blitz and recover very safely here. There's nothing my opponent can really do about it. So, we should have this game in the bag, I think. Yeah, because the toxic damage is going to add up over time. I can recover here very freely. And then just get my Tapu Bulu in, go for that Bloom Doom, and it should be able to knock out Marowak. And even if Marowak protects, you're adding up more poison damage and puts it closer to the Wood Hammer range. The match is going to be forfeited, and we will take a victory here. So, I hope everyone enjoyed today's video. It was kind of a long video. It's actually pretty stall-like video, but that's the kind of games we play with this team. It's a lot more defensive than most of my other teams. You have to play very perfectly with this team. You have to get into good situations. Like, this team really relies on getting into perfect situations, wearing down your opponent, and then like slowly chipping them while keeping the board position in your favor. And then you can win the games by picking up KOs in the late game when all your opponents are weakened. So I hope everyone enjoyed today's team. It's a bit different than our normal teams, that's for sure. But I hope everyone learned a lesson in like how teams can function differently, especially more defensive teams, because I don't think I've ever played really a more defensive team on the series. So this is kind of a new experience. I think I'm going to be trying out a bunch of different teams in the future. Might try Hyper Offense out because I never actually really used Hyper Offense in the future. So look forward to that. Otherwise, we picked up 3 wins in today's episode. And yeah, pretty fun team. If you want to try to pay spin of this team, go check it out down below. There's no QR code for this team since it's not my team, so I can't technically rightfully claim it. So the pay spin's going to have to do. So otherwise, you can check out the previous episodes if you haven't missed it. My social medias. Otherwise, yeah, that's it. See you around in another video.